All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Deal in the Cards podcast, powered by 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles. As always, I'm Sandy. This is Andrew. We are missing Josh today, but we've got a really exciting episode with tons of stuff to talk about. The main thing we're going to be breaking down today, though, is various extension candidates for the Cardinals. So before we do that, there's a little bit of news here, I guess, happening recently. The Rule 5 stuff is going on right now. I don't know if there's anyone you want the Cardinals to target, Andrew. I know they've added people to the 40-man roster to protect as well. Notable name there. Tink Hence getting added is pretty exciting. Is there anything in this news pile that sticks out to you, or is it all just kind of white noise?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that Drew Rom got outrighted to Memphis.
Rom.com.
I think it's pretty funny that nobody claimed him off waivers. I think that says a lot about the kind of player that he's going to be. But hey, I really think Drew Rom is on the Adolis Garcia arc. I'm going to keep banging that drum and say that.
Don't say that.
One day Orioles fans are going to see Drew Rom tearing up in the playoffs and be like, why did we let this guy go when they could have claimed him off waivers back from the Cardinals? So, hey, maybe he'll have that resurgence. Probably not. But, yeah, that's the only big piece of news. They protected Hence and Roby and Koperniak.
Yeah.
I think that was it. I don't
Interesting
think
to see Koperniak added to the 40-man. I think that means that there are plans for him to reach St. Louis at some point next year.
I think he could be like a fifth outfielder thing. If Siani's awful, then maybe we'll see him as the fourth outfielder.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not high on Siani. I think it's time to let that dream die. But other than that, we'll see the non-tender deadline on Friday. Some of the candidates there are pretty easily no-brainers. Like, we're not going to non-tender some of these guys. One guy that I did see that I tagged you in a post today was that John King is probably the most likely player to get non-tendered, which...
If they do that, I'm going to be so mad.
I don't think they will.
I don't think they would either. I think he's too valuable for your bullpen right now.
Yeah, and they have guys like Ludus and Roy Croft that I feel like they'll get rid of first. That they'll DFA. They're not. I don't think they're non-tender candidates yet. They're still pre-arb.
I just don't know why you would non-tender John King. Like, he's not going to cost much. I know is he like reaching ARB for the first time?
Yeah, he's ARB 1 this year, I think.
But he's not going to be expensive. He's going to be really cheap, and he was awesome last year. He generates a ton of ground balls. I've talked about him enough on this podcast. I think he's
I don't think it'll happen. I doubt that they'll get rid of John King.
I'll be mad if they do.
And we should keep Sandy in our thoughts if it does happen on Friday, because we won't hear from you until Sunday after that. So I guess we'll see.
It'll be a tough weekend.
It'll be rough, but yeah, I guess we can dive straight into it. We're here today. Not too much going on, so I appreciate everyone for tuning in. In the Cardinals world. Actually, one thing I do want to point out is that they just announced Cy Young voting. And Shota Imanaga has gotten like so much attention in the awards voting recently. He just finished 5th in Cy Young voting ahead of Michael King and Logan Webb. Logan Webb led the league in innings. He had a FIP that was like a full point lower than Imanaga. He just had slightly worse results on the field. Michael King, similar thing with him. Slightly worse results, but his peripherals are so much better, and he threw more innings than Imanaga. I don't get it. Helsley got 3 votes, 2 of them from St. Louis writers, so I'm glad to see some St. Louis writers respecting our players. I mean, to be fair, both Jeff and whoever else voted for Churio over Winn instead of Imanaga over Winn. That would have been really bad if they had voted. I'm sure Winn would have come 4th for them. There's just not that many votes to come around. But the fact that 2 Chicago writers voted for Imanaga, a 30-year-old from Japan who's making like $18 million over a 22-year-old shortstop who, by all like WAR metrics, by both, I mean, it's tough to evaluate WAR between pitchers and hitters, but he was considerably better than Imanaga on BWAR. He was second, I think, amongst NL rookies, just behind Skeens on BWAR. He was 4th amongst NL rookies on FWAR. So for him to not get a single vote, I think is criminal, and I think it's terrible. And I wrote a whole article about it on Redbird Rants, and I think some Chicago writers need their heads checked because
it's common.
I mean, Imanaga Like, what are we doing? Like, he had a great first half, and then he kind of slipped in the second half. And I mean,
Yeah,
frustrating.
I think part of it is just like the narrative around the Cardinals right now is that they're terrible, that they're rebuilding, and
They finished with the same record as the Cubs.
I agree, but whether that should matter, whether the narrative should matter in like voting and stuff like that, is I don't think it should, but it does. It clearly does. And for some reason, there's just a lot of negativity around the Cardinals right now. If you talk to people at the national level, there's this sort of belief that like the Cubs are like building up and that they're getting better, when in reality it's kind of an old team. There's some weird stuff. Yeah, they've got a lot of exciting prospects who might be something, but the Cardinals have said that for a while. We haven't seen any of them really do much of anything. And then for the Cardinals, even though there are young players or dynamic players like Winn, the belief is just that they're this old team that's a nursing home. So I think that.
Yeah, when in reality, between those two rookies, Imanaga's like, what, 10 years older than Winn?
Yeah.
Like, when Imanaga made his professional debut, Winn was in like middle school. Like,
there's a legit chance too that like that's the best season of Imanaga's career.
oh, it will be 100%. You can write it down. You can write it down.
I think
You
it
can
will
write
be.
it in pen.
It's definitely not the best season of Winn's career. He's just getting started. He is immensely talented. We love Masyn Winn.
Yeah. But on that note, we're going to talk about some extension candidates. I think Masyn Winn might be at the top of the list for
agree.
players that you want to give that contract to. Obviously, the last time the Cardinals gave a big extension to a shortstop, it didn't work out. But
okay, let's not say big extension. The Paul DeJong extension, when the Cardinals front office being like, oh my gosh, it's a terrible contract. We paid him so much. They paid him like roughly fair market value for what he gave them, considering the fact that he still played decent enough defense, hit enough home runs until really the last year in St. Louis. And they were paying him like nothing. It maxed out at what, like 13 million or something?
Yeah.
Like not a lot of money.
Yeah, but for a guy who was a black hole offensively for a couple of years, and then he turn it around.
A couple of years is a strong word there.
He spent so much time in AAA.
Player. Only in the
Nolan Gorman was a 20 homer player too.
Only in the last season did he spend a ton of time at AAA though. Like early on, he was fine, and he was still an above replacement level player because the defense was so good. Paul DeJong probably should have contended for Gold Gloves a few times in his career. He's a fantastic.
He just didn't hit well enough to stay on the field. So
yeah, but also it's not like he was off the field that much. He still played a lot. I think that the Cardinals front office was way whinier than they should have been about that whole situation. And if they're using that as a justification to no longer sign extensions with young players, that's ridiculous. And I'm sure that plays into it. But I just don't care. I think it was not that big a deal. It was not that much money. If you want to talk about bad extensions, let's talk about Miles Mikolas, right? There's no reason to not extend young players if you're basing it off the Paul DeJong extension. It was still a team-friendly deal for the most part. Yeah, he cratered at certain points during the deal, especially in the last year, but it wasn't the end of the world. It's not like these mega extensions other teams sign. Like the Julio Rodriguez extension in Seattle could actually turn out really bad if Julio continues to regress like he has since his rookie year. It's not that kind of deal. So yeah, or the Evan White deal that the Mariners signed that he never took the field after like 2020 and like they paid him more money than we paid DeJong. I'm just upset about that. But I think the Cardinals need to sign more of these deals.
Question from Bill before we fully dive on into the extension talk. We talked about this briefly. Do you see any pitchers getting DFA'd or non-tendered?
I don't think so.
The only non-tender candidates, the only ARB-eligible players, we can list them all right now, are Ryan Helsley, Jojo Romero, Andre Palante, John King, Brendan Donovan, and Lars Nootbaar. Obviously, amongst those lists, John King is the most likely to be non-tendered because he is objectively the least valuable out of all of those.
Okay.
Who is less valuable than John King?
Maybe Jojo Romero right now. You could. I'm not going to say it. I would still list Jojo as more valuable than him, but you could make that argument considering he has less control.
Yeah, but you're not going to non-tender him. You trade.
You're not going to non-tender any of these guys. You're not going to non-tender John King.
But some of the DFA guys for me, I think, is a clear candidate for that. Let's pull up the 40-man. I don't know, like Ludus is a guy that I think they want to respect him though, because he like came up as like a front office guy before he they found out that he was like really good at pitching. So
didn't he go to Wash U?
Yeah, he did.
It's crazy.
But like, I mean, Riley O'Brien maybe.
Yeah.
They also
that makes
protected
sense.
Matt Swanson, so he could come up next year and be an impact bullpen arm.
That makes sense to me. He's in the
Roderick
Arizona Fall League.
Munoz,
He's looked really
yeah.
good.
And
And that's the guy they got from Miami, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Position player wise, I don't know, maybe Luken Baker, but I feel like Luken Baker has a little bit of trade value. You could get cash considerations for him, I bet.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know about any of those other guys. To me, position player wise, it's Fermin, and then pitcher wise, it's Ludus, and then Riley O'Brien, I guess.
Maybe
But
Roycroft.
Roycroft was decent. Now I'm glazing these random relievers. What have you done to me? Oh man. Anyway, should Masyn Winn get an extension, Sandy?
Yeah, I think I'm not going to say that they should sign Masyn Winn to an extension right now. Not because I don't believe in the talent. I think everyone who watched Masyn Winn last year saw the talent was there. He hit for high batting average. He got on base. Masyn Winn is going to become a more advanced hitter the longer he's in the big leagues. We've seen it every year with Masyn Winn. He would mash at some a lower level. The Cardinals would promote him. He would struggle for a little bit, and then he would figure it out as the year went on. He would start the next year hot. That's kind of what you saw this year, right? So in 2023, the season was over. Masyn Winn comes up in late August, early September. He's terrible at the big league level, but he gets real chance to figure it out this year, and he's awesome. He's a 4.5 WAR player. Like he is very close to being a legitimate star in this league. There's a lot to love about him. And something you didn't see, you saw it a little bit, was the power start to come through this year. Masyn Winn, power's not really his calling card, but there was more in the minor leagues than he showed this year. And I believe that will appear at least next year, or maybe the year after. His in-game power, he'll start tapping into that more often, pulling fly balls a little more often. He hits a ton of line drives. That's something you have to love. And by some accounts, Masyn Winn wasn't necessarily the luckiest player in the world. Like, his offensive numbers could get even better moving forward, especially if he can just take some walks. He chased a little bit more than you'd want to. I also think the Cardinals could let him run more often. And it's clear that the one thing you can always rely on with him is going to be the glove. He's a great defender. He has the best arm of anybody in baseball. It's not close. Yeah, you know what? No, he has a better arm than Elly De La Cruz. I'll throw it out there.
I heard Elly De La Cruz could throw 109 miles an hour, according to Prospect Dugout on Twitter. So
criminal.
I don't know. They have like 500,000 followers, so they must be legit, right?
Yeah,
I wonder where they got
they
that info
fall
from.
for your bait, which is crazy. But yeah, so all those things considered, Masyn Winn is an elite youngster. And I think I wouldn't be upset if they sign him to an extension. I just think right now you may be overpaying for an extension. Masyn Winn's going to want a ton of money to sign away his ARB years, and especially to let you buy out some free agent years. So if you're going to do it, you have to go big. But the Braves have been able to work these kinds of deals out. The Royals just worked one out with Bobby Witt. I'm not saying Masyn Winn's Bobby Witt. They're different types of players, obviously. But other teams lock up their young stars. The Cardinals probably need to do that. So yeah, I don't have a problem with extending Masyn Winn. He's not the guy I would go to first, but I think it makes a lot of sense to get him.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with most part. I feel like Masyn Winn, though, did outperform his offensive metrics a little bit, at least throughout the first half of the season.
Definitely in the first half. In the second half, though, he ran into some bad luck.
Yeah, I say the defense is the main reason. He's a much better defender than like a Paul DeJong was. So like, even if his offense does end up cratering,
he was really good. Also,
Masyn Winn, the arm I feel like covers
that's
the other like anything else that DeJong could have had.
He had a lot of range. One thing real quick about him overperforming his offensive numbers. Sorry. Masyn Winn hits so many line drives that he's going to outperform. He's going to run a high BABIP throughout his entire career. It's just what he does. Masyn Winn doesn't pop the ball up at all. He doesn't hit shallow flyouts either. And while it's on the ground, sometimes when it's on the ground, he hits it pretty hard. But there are so many line drives, and those just fall for base hits. It's not like the full Luis Arias contact profile, but it's some sort of Luis Arias light with more power mixed in. So he's going to outperform those metrics.
Yeah, and unlike Luis Arias, he like does walk occasionally.
Yeah, and he's also fast and he plays defense.
Yeah, so he has like he's not just a one-dimensional player. Although he does need to work on his stealing game. He stole 11 bases this year. He was caught 5 times. Shohei Ohtani stole 59 bases and was caught 4 times. So
the Cardinals did not give him the right opportunities to run in.
But and I think he's faster than Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, he is.
Which is not good.
Shohei had the green light all year. A lot of players don't have the green light that way.
Yeah. Also, stop batting him leadoff.
Agreed.
I think you have like 3 other guys. Well, I don't know. You definitely have 2 other guys that can bat leadoff a lot better than Masyn Winn, and his leadoff numbers were just not great. His on base numbers definitely need work. His batting average is, I think, higher than both Donovan and Nootbaar this year, but like the discipline, the walks definitely need to start coming along. Like he walks more than Luis Ariz, but he still doesn't walk that much. Definitely not enough to lead off for you. So if you want to give him success, like I think, I don't know, he had like a 70 WRC plus leading off, and then when he was batting like 6th, he had like a 170 or something. I don't know, something crazy. But if you give him the extension, I think you will overpay a little bit. I think he's one of the guys on this list that we're looking at that I would probably rank pretty low on the extension list. I would give him another season, because you've also seen these guys that like have one good year and fall off. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Masyn Winn, but you've seen that with Gorman. You've seen that with Walker.
But the defense being there helps a lot. Like the thing with Winn is, that you're not going to get a player who's unplayable. Like he's going to be in the lineup because the defense is so good, and there really aren't other answers for the Cardinals at shortstop right now.
He's not going to be Michael Ciani.
Correct.
Michael Ciani is probably the one player that has that caliber of defense that's just not playable, which is unfortunate. Maybe a team like the Yankees
could use bad at the plate.
Yeah, the next guy, I think, like we've talked about him so much the last couple of weeks, and that's Ryan Helsley. And I say, please don't extend him. Please trade him. Please, Mo. And I know Josh, I think, actually has a different take. I really want to hear it. He's on the IL for the next episode as well. But when he's back, we'll be sure to ask him why he wants to, or why he thinks Ryan Helsley would be an extension candidate. I don't know.
I mean,
I think it's a bad idea.
I think it's a bad idea, but I think I see the logic. Tell me if this is what you're thinking. I think the thought here is the Cardinals have to make some sort of Ryan Helsley deal happen this year. So either you trade him or you extend him. You trade him or you extend him, right? Because it's like, if you extend Ryan Helsley, what you're doing is you're locking up one of the best relievers in baseball, and you're saying, great, you're going to be part of the next winner here. And it may not be next year. It might be the year after next year, but at least you guarantee you'll have Ryan Helsley around. Having Ryan Helsley this year also makes your team better this year. It raises your floor for sure. It definitely raises your ceiling as well. Having Ryan Helsley probably helps the team win 3 additional games in a given season. And it's a luxury that if the Cardinals are more competitive in 2026, 2027, or 2028, they want to have that big time closer. So I think that's the logic. But it's like, at least you're getting more out of him than just letting him walk for no reason, right? I'd rather them extend him than not trade him and play out this season. That would be stupid.
I guess. But before we get on to the Ryan Helsley discussion, we need to thank a couple of our sponsors, starting off with 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles, our presenting sponsor. You know all about them. They're located at 9640 Olive Boulevard in Olivet. They're open 10 to 5 Monday through Friday, and then 9 to 4 on Saturday and Sunday. They buy, sell, and trade all sports cards and Pokemon cards, and they have the newest selections of packs, boxes, and single cards of local players and stars from around the league. Definitely go check them out. We're going to be doing our charity live stream there. We might be selling tickets for that, all going to Big League Impact, of course, but we might be selling tickets for you guys to come in and ask questions. So that'll be really fun. Definitely go check them out. Lots of good product releases. There's a Paul Skeens 1-of-1 MLB debut patch that he wore in his MLB debut. So, hey, if you pull that card, the Pirates are offering, what was it, 30 years of like essentially green seats for the Cardinals.
What would you, if you pulled that card, would you take their offer, or would you sell the card?
I think I would.
I think I'd hold the card and sell it still.
I don't know, like 30 years of like, I know that like Cardinals green seats are like what, $200 to $500 on like for a bad season. Yeah. Like I feel like Pirates, like let's say it's like $150 a ticket on average. You get like what, 30 years worth of that for 81 games? You could probably sell that for like $500,000. I'm not going. I'm not going to any of those games unless they're like playing the Dodgers, and I would be
Yeah.
like, hey, let me on the field, and I want to meet Shohei. But
I
I
saw
don't
the
know.
one thing though where they're offering you like a softball game
Yeah,
at
that's
PNC
cool.
Park with like
That's
current
really
and
cool.
former Pirates as coaches. That's a once in a lifetime like priceless
Yeah, and you
experience.
get that I think you get that like every year or something.
Wait, what? If it's every year, okay.
Yeah,
I would
I
try
think
that.
I would do that. And hey, you got a date with Livy Dunn if that's what you're into. And me personally, I'll give that to somebody. Someone else can take that. I don't really need that.
That's crazy.
She is offering to let you stay in her box for a game. But hey, go to 314 Sports Cards. Imagine if they pulled it. That would be crazy. That'd be really cool.
Unbelievable. Hey,
But
you know what? Go to 314. You might pull it.
yeah, exactly. There you go. And then we also have another partnership that we'd like to launch here today. You've probably seen it on Twitter if you follow us. But we're really excited to be partnering with Underdog Sports, our favorite place to play fantasy games. Got to check out their pick'em. It's really easy to play. Just pick 2 to 8 stats of your favorite players and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. You can multiply your money 20-fold by going 5 for 5. So if you want to go the exact opposite of Paul Goldschmidt with runners in scoring position, you can go and do that. And if that sounds like fun, you can sign up right now with our promo code CARDS. That's on the screen, CARDS, just cards like the Cardinals, to claim your free pick plus a first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Cannot wait to see your guys' entries. I know it's not baseball season for your picks, so I'm not going to be really playing on Underdog all that much, if I'm being honest, because I don't watch any other sports. But I know Josh is probably going to pick higher on a lot of these Caleb Williams, whatever. I picked lower on for my first one because they were giving away like a gimme pick for first-time users. But I'm sure you guys will be coming up with good NFL picks going forward. So appreciate you guys at Underdog for supporting us. And also to 314 Sports Cards. But yeah, Ryan Helsley, definitely. I think an extension might actually be worse than just letting him walk. And I'll tell you
No,
why.
I don't think so.
I'll tell you why. Because, hi, Josh. Thanks, Underdog. Hopefully, Josh is playing on Underdog and fading my picks. So, anyways, Ryan Helsley, like you look at the 2 other comps for Ryan Helsley,
Sure.
and that's Josh Hader and that's Edwin Diaz. The Edwin Diaz deal has been, in my opinion, just a failure, right?
No, that's
He was the
not.
best closer in all of baseball in 2022, and then he got hurt in the WBC, a freak injury,
Yeah,
obviously.
that was weird.
But you can't really predict that. Keep Helsley away from the WBC, I guess. Like, I don't know. I'd love to see him pitch for the U.S. In 26, but this season, Edwin Diaz was just like an average reliever. What, a 3.52 ERA? Ended up turning it around to like be playable in the postseason as a closer for the Mets, but like only 20 saves. He
Yeah,
lost
but
that role for a little bit. Like so far, they haven't gotten anything out of him. Just 54 appearances with 3.52 ERA.
yeah, but
Like
that's
it
just
hasn't
1
gone
year.
well.
That's just 1 year. And I would counter with this. I think what you're getting when you get a closure, you're not like Ryan Helsley's not guaranteed to be a top 3 reliever in baseball every year. But when you can say, yeah, this guy had a 3.5 ERA and it was a really bad year for him, like what great relievers do is they are immune to like reliever volatility, meaning like any reliever for the most part can have some John King like Linsanity run where he's incredible for like a 3-month stretch. And then you come back the next year and that reliever is completely unplayable. It happens all the time. Zach Thompson was unbelievable in his rookie season with the Cardinals as a reliever. He had like a 2.4 ERA or something in 40 some innings, but he comes back the following year and is unpitchable. You can't even use him. And that stuff happens all the time with relievers. But what great relievers do is you can lock it in and you can say, I know this guy is going to be usable at least all year. I know this guy is going to, in a bad year, still be an average to above average reliever. He's immune to that volatility. That's what Giovanni Gallegos did for the Cardinals for a period of several years. And finally, after 7 seasons with the Cardinals, was not good anymore.
Do you know who's entering the 7th season with the Cardinals?
Ryan Helsley.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Ryan Helsley, right now is different than Gio was 2 years ago too. The writing is not on the wall the way it was.
I mean, it's not, but like he's had 2 good seasons.
Two
His
incredible seasons.
2023 season was like half a good season.
Well, he got hurt.
Yeah, I know. And that's one of the things. He throws so hard that it is very easy for pitchers like that to get hurt.
Yeah, but the lack of innings and the way they used him this year to specifically like preserve his health, I think that matters too.
I mean,
and I think they would stick
innings
to
is a lot of innings for a reliever.
Yeah, but when those
They
innings are all the same, there's a routine. He's not being brought in. He's not like for relievers, what they say all the time is that they're more likely to get hurt when they have to come into a game, finish an inning, and then go cool down in the dugout before going back out to the mound. Relievers aren't meant to do that. So Helsley last year not having to do that at all was huge for him, I think.
I just think like we're in the age now where relievers can really get those big long-term contracts like Diaz did. And Hader also this year was a down season for him. And he's had stretches where he was just bad.
Yeah.
Right. Like after he was traded from the Brewers, or before he was traded from the Brewers, he had like a couple of horrible outings, blew a couple of saves. And then for the Padres, that following the trade deadline was just awful as well.
Yeah.
And then he did turn around in the playoffs, but like, I just don't think the Cardinals can afford to have somebody like that. I don't think they can afford to have a really high paid player on their roster who's a reliever, especially with their track record of signing these guys. Like you think of the Millers and the Hollands and the Gregersons and the whoever's and the people that you just hate, right? Like you just hate to see those guys. Yeah, the Cecils.
I agree. Ryan Helsley is different than those guys, though. Like Ryan Helsley, Brett Cecil is a great example of this. Brett Cecil was an average reliever who had a really great year, and then the Cardinals bit and reliever volatility kicked in, and he was garbage. Greg Holland was old and at the end of his career. That was dumb.
They also signed him right before spring training, which was horrible.
Yeah, that was stupid. Andrew Miller was really old and totally at the end of his career. Yeah. Luke Gregerson, also old at the end of his career. Ryan Helsley is not those guys. He's a completely different type of reliever than them.
Right.
He's a bona fide top 3 closer in the league. Those guys they can't hold a candle to his performance. None of them have ever had a season like Ryan Helsley's 2022 or 2024. None of them. I mean, Greg Holland had good years, but it was well before the Cardinals were interested in his services.
Right. And I'm looking at Diaz's numbers though, and he had 4 seasons of 30 plus saves. Yeah. And in 2020, he had a 1.75 ERA in 26 appearances. So like these guys and Hader was a 5-time All-Star before he signed his deal.
Yeah, but you've only got one year.
Ryan Helsley only had 2 of those complete dominant reliever seasons. And
well, maybe that means he'll be cheaper.
Worried. Yeah.
I don't think he'll come with the same level of price tag. I'm not saying
coming off a Reliever of the Year award. He just received 3 Cy Young votes.
Yeah. I'm not saying they should do it. Like, no, I am not saying that they should extend Ryan Helsley. I think it'd be better than just letting him walk, though.
Yeah. Also, Josh, if you're still listening, definitely put in your reason for extending Helsley in the chat. I would really like to know.
Yeah.
Because
I still think they should trade him. They should still get the value. But if it's keep Ryan Helsley or extend Ryan Helsley, yeah, extend Ryan Helsley. I would rather have him around and not just be letting him walk for absolutely nothing. And if you extend him, you at least can trade him afterwards. Although, if you're paying a ton of money for him, he's probably way less desirable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I want to see what happens. It's possible that Mo is just playing the long game because, like, remember when he said he was going to trade Tyler O'Neill, he didn't get anything back. So maybe he'll get something good in return for Ryan Helsley. But moving into some of the younger guys, we talked about Winn already, but it's the big 4 that we always come to in extension talks. Start with Jordan Walker, because I think you have a completely differing take than everybody else about him.
Well, I think if you're going to extend Jordan Walker, you should do it now. And here's why. I think Jordan Walker is an immensely talented player. I think Jordan Walker is still going to be a very good player at some point in time. I don't know what his defensive home is. I think he's going to stay in the outfield for a while. The Cardinals need to figure out how to teach him how to play the outfield. That might help. But maybe that means hiring a fielding coordinator, perhaps. A role that's just not filled, doesn't even exist in St. Louis, which is crazy. But yeah, Heim will get it handled. But I think if you're going to do it, you do it now because he's going to come way cheaper than he comes. Let's say Jordan Walker this year has a 140 WRC plus. That'd be awesome. And would you be shocked? Probably
No,
not. Probably not.
not
And
really. I mean, a little bit.
yeah,
I mean,
I'd be surprised.
friends
I'd
of
be
mine who
pleasantly
aren't Cardinals
surprised.
fans are calling Jordan Walker a bust already. I've asked them, and they're like, "Yeah, Jordan Walker, he's the bust already."
Yeah,
So
they don't know what
I
they're
don't know.
talking about. Jordan Walker had a bad second season after posting a 116 WRC plus as a 20 and 21-year-old rookie playing at the major league level. That's crazy. He's still younger than a lot of top 100 prospects. He's just not, you just can't be calling him a bust yet. Yeah, the Cardinals have handled him weirdly. Yes, he was underwhelming last year. No, he's not a bust. No, it's not over yet. And yes, he'd be way cheaper now than he would be after a big season. He'd also be way cheaper now than he was after that rookie season last year, where he finished with a 116 WRC plus. Again, 16% above league average. That would have been one of the best hitters on the team this year. Better than the season Nolan Arenado just had. Better than the season Masyn Winn had at the plate this year. People forget how good he was during his rookie season. So yeah, I think an extension would make a lot of sense. I don't know if the Cardinals would be willing to extend him for a long time. I don't know if Walker would be willing to sign that kind of extension right now. I don't know how it would get done, but I think if I was able to just make it happen, yeah, this is one that I'd be very interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I think in theory it makes sense. If you're a team like the Dodgers or the Phillies,
for sure,
then I would for sure do it. Right, because money's no object to you. But we're talking about the Cardinals.
The Cardinals have to take these risks, though, at some point in time.
Yeah.
Look at the Braves. The Braves have this machine that generates talented young players, and then they sign them, and they keep them long-term.
Yeah, I think the issue is that some of those guys are foreign international free agents that get exploited by the system.
Maybe
like a little bit.
Austin Riley, though. Austin Riley signed a very team-friendly extension.
Isn't Austin Riley from Atlanta?
Yeah. Austin Riley.
It makes a lot of sense. He grew up a Braves fan. Then would you, Sandy, if you were in the majors right now and the Cardinals offered you a really team-friendly extension, would you take it?
Maybe. I don't know. I think I would have to talk to my agent about it.
I think you would.
I mean, yeah, but I think it'd be like the calculus would be different with like Major League Baseball player Sandy versus podcast fan Sandy.
So maybe
it's not a fair comparison.
But Max Scherzer, right? He was going to come here on a discount, and then Mo was like, "No, we don't want you."
Yeah, and they still couldn't make it happen. The point is, though, that the Cardinals at some point in time need to figure out how to take those risks. You have to. Because if you can't extend and keep your young talent, you're not going anywhere in this league. It's obvious at this point. You have to do it.
Right.
And so I think this is a great spot to start.
I just think that there's these prospects that bust all the time, right? Like Kyle Lewis won Rookie of the Year, and he's like in Korea now. Like he's gone.
Yeah, that was super weird. He won Rookie of the Year in 2020, and then he's not out of baseball because he's bad. He's out of baseball because he couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah, and
he got hurt like 4 times.
And what was the Brewers to Marlins guy who now plays for the NPB Giants?
Lewis Brinson.
Lewis Brinson. Yeah. They're both Lewis. That guy was such a touted prospect. Yeah, and obviously he didn't have a season like Jordan Walker did in 2023. But Jordan Walker was let's not forget, he was a negative contributor in 2023 because his defense was just that bad.
The defense is bad.
And if you sign Jordan Walker to an 8-9 year deal, it could get really ugly if he turns into a Kyle Lewis, right? Just imagine if that were to happen. And there's teams out there that can afford that, but if the Cardinals were to do that, it would set them back so long.
It depends how big that deal is.
Set them back so many years.
A lot of these deals are also there's not that much money involved in some of these. Look at the Colt Keith deal that the Tigers just signed.
He's a fine player, isn't he?
Yeah. But he was a rookie this year. They took a risk. They had no idea what he was going to contribute. And he was really bad at the beginning of the season, but he's a talented guy. They're betting on the talent, and he improved as the year went on. And now it looks like it's probably going to be a bargain for them over the life of the contract. They bought out a few years of free agency. They spent a fair chunk of change, probably a lot for an organization like them and not like the Dodgers or the Yankees, for example. But it was a risk, and they took it, and it's probably going to work out well. If not now, when are the Cardinals ever going to do that? The Cardinals at some point have to figure out how to extend young players.
I feel like there's other guys on this list though that I would extend way before Jordan Walker.
Yeah, but these other guys are going to cost a lot more. I know who you're alluding to, and I agree with you that they should make those extensions
Yeah.
happen as well. If the Cardinals were smart, they'd figure out how to extend a bunch of players.
I mean, they haven't signed a good extension recently. The Carpenter extension was bad. Well, the
Yeah, the
Goldschmidt
Carpenter
extension was
extension,
like the last one I
the
remember being.
Goldschmidt extension made a ton of sense though, and it's
Yeah.
fine. The Carpenter extension
I feel
was
like the
like
Goldschmidt
bad.
extension. Yeah. I
The
feel like
Carpenter
the
extension was.
Goldschmidt.
Oh,
Yeah.
you go.
I think the Goldschmidt extension was baked in, kind of like the Glasnow extension
Yes.
for the Dodgers, where it was just like, we're not going to make this deal unless we can extend it. So I don't really count that.
Yeah.
Besides, you're talking about a future Hall of Famer. Like,
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, and like the Carpenter
Whatever. And like
extension is whatever. I
some
don't
of the
think
like
it's
Molina and Wainwright extensions, those don't count. I'm talking about
no,
like young
yeah.
players, like and like homegrown players. Like
The only ones I can think of then are like the
the
Paul
DeYoung
DeYoung extension,
the
which is
Michaelis
fine.
extension.
But Michaelis is a 38-year-old pitcher. Like it's
Yeah.
a completely different ball game than a 22-year-old outfielder who
Yeah.
just like, I'm not even kidding, less than 2 years ago, MLB was listing as the top prospect in the sport according to Pipeline. He was the #1 overall prospect league. That is just not the same.
I mean, like
Like
Kyle Wisgard used
qualitatively,
to be worth like hundreds of dollars, and now they're worth like tens of cents. So
qualitatively, Jordan Walker is a different asset than Miles Michaelis, and there's just no debating that. The Cardinals, when they've had talented guys like this that they've extended, a la like Albert Pujols type extensions, it's worked out really well. So I don't know. I think the Cardinals have to figure out how to extend players and keep talent because you can't just bleed talent in this league and go anywhere. The Rays have done that for far too long. The Rays just bleed talent. They develop young talent, it leaves.
well, they did sign one extension, and that didn't really work out. But we're not going to talk about enough about. No, we're not going to even touch that. Brendan Donovan, though, the next guy.
Slam dunk, yes. Extend him. I think you would agree with me on this one. Brendan Donovan is awesome. I would totally extend him. Something that's really cool about Donovan at this point is you totally know what you're getting with him. You're getting a guy with a little bit of pop, some sneaky pop, a guy who's going to have a high batting average, a really high on base percentage. He plays above average defense at second base, shortstop in a really small sample size, third base, and he could be your third baseman if Nolan Arenado gets traded. He also plays above average defense in both corner outfield spots. He's an above average runner. He's a hard worker. He's good for the team. He's good for morale. Yes, I love Brendan Donovan. He's the quintessential Cardinal. Yes, I would love to see him a Cardinal forever. Extend him now.
I do think, Blake, I really hope Hiroki Sasaki is coming to St. Louis. We can hope. Supposedly, there's a 90% chance he doesn't sign with the Dodgers, according to Jim Bowden, who said that Nolan Arenado would be a Dodger by Christmas, like 4 years ago. Hopefully that's true this year. Please make Nolan Arenado a Dodger by Christmas. That would be nice. But the one thing I need Brendan Donovan to change, I feel like some people have talked about it. I think Bernie brought it up when we had him on, is that he just needs to go back to what he came up as and stop hitting for power. Like the home runs are fine, but like it's not necessary. In 2022, Brendan Donovan had a 394 on base and a 281 batting average. In 2024, his batting average was only 278. It didn't dip by that much, but his on base was 342. He stopped taking walks. He tried to become more of a power hitter. He played 153 games in 2024 and only 126 in 2022. In 2022, he walked 60 times. In 2024, he only walked 47.
Yeah, he needs to take more.
Like he needs to go back to whatever he was doing in 2022 instead of like for whatever reason we have this obsession with power in the league today, where it's like, no, you don't need to hit for power. You just need to get on base. There's other guys on this team that can hit home runs, like Wilson Contreras. Probably gonna hit a lot of home runs next year if he stays healthy at first base. Alec Burleson can hit home runs. Lars Nootbaar might be able to hit a lot of home runs if he's healthy.
And the nice thing about Donovan, he'll run into a few too. Like Donovan swings hard enough and he makes solid enough contact that he will run into some home runs even without swinging for the fences all the time.
Right, because I feel like there's so many times this season where I was like, wow, that was a really good swing by Brendan Donovan, but it was a flat out to the warning track. And it's like, well, that didn't really do anything. It's like you don't have that. You don't have the power. You just need to take the ones that are handed to you. But like you have to go back to what was working for you in 2022. And like he's talking about like making adjustments by being more aggressive, swinging at the first pitch. He got a lot of first pitch strikes. But I don't know if that's the case anymore, right? Like I think he's kind of turned the hitter he is, like turned into the hitter that he is today, where he's more aggressive. And He might not get as many first pitch strikes. You have to be more selective with the pitches that you're trying to hit. Try to get on base more. Try to, instead of like switching to the puck not bat or whatever he did in 23. Clearly worked for his power game. He hit 11 and 14 home runs instead of just 5 that he hit in 22. But like I don't care. It doesn't matter, right? Like,
I agree with you.
His slug has gone up significantly, but his on base is what makes him so valuable. And he should be batting leadoff every day. Go back to what he was doing in 22.
Yep. I think there's a way for him to marry those two things too. Like, I think Brendan Donovan has added strength, and I think that's really good. And I think he's added some bat speed, and I think that's really good. But if he can go back to his old swing with added strength and added bat speed, you're going to get more doubles. Brendan Donovan, if he can put the ball in the gap, right? Like, I would much rather Brendan Donovan have a game where he goes 3 for 5 with a double and a couple of singles than 1 for 4 with a homer and 2 strikeouts. You know, that's the hitter he is, though. He's going to be able to do that. So if he can marry those two styles of hitting to some extent, but you're right, go back to more of that disciplined, getting on base type. He's already an effective hitter, but he's going to be even better. Also, the other thing is, if like Brendan Donovan not being able to pick a lane this year that's kind of what we're saying. And that's what Bernie has said in the past as well. I know other people are on top of this. If that's the worst version of Brendan Donovan, he's still an incredibly valuable player.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how. Also, I'm looking at some of these numbers. Brendan 5 bases and was caught 5 times. What is this team doing? Like, we get
Cardinals don't know
so much, but we can't steal. Like, what is going on? Siani, I feel like got caught way too many times for his speed too. Like, Brendan Donovan probably has a higher sprint speed than Shohei Ohtani. He's not that fast. Shohei's not that fast.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out of.
Ohtani's pretty fast.
Yeah, but it's like, let's. Can we get a base running coordinator? Like, what are we doing? This is crazy.
But yeah, I would love to see Donovan extended. Long story short, it makes too much sense. The Cardinals love him, and it would finally put to bed the stupid rumors that he's getting traded.
Oh yeah,
that I see all over the place. He's not getting moved, guys. Brendan Donovan's not going to be a Yankee. So Yankees fans can shut up.
If they want to give us Heel and Cortez, then sure.
Yeah. If Heel's involved, maybe. Like, Brendan Donovan's a really valuable asset. I don't think other people around the league get how like great a ball player he is.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he won't drop the ball. Hey, maybe he'll be their center fielder and he won't drop the ball. And their next year they'll go to Game 6 of the World Series instead of Game 5.
It's terrible.
But anyway, hey, that's why they value Brendan Donovan over there, and Arenado maybe too.
Well, we've got a couple more extension candidates here. These other guys, like this one's not nearly as compelling though, and I think we're gonna have the same answer. But Nolan Gorman,
no.
Yeah, I agree. No, I don't think this is even that hard right now. Yeah, after last year, you might have extended Nolan Gorman, and it's tough to just say like, oh, it's only 1 year, but the 1 year was so bad, and the blinking red lights are flashing so brightly and so quickly. That I'm a little nervous about it.
I remember telling you guys, because you guys were like, extend Nolan Gorman after last year. I remember saying this. I can go back and find the clip. Maybe someone else will find the clip for me. But I remember saying that if you extend Nolan Gorman, there's a non-zero chance it ends up like the DeYoung extension. And now it looks like I might have been right about
that. You would have been more than right. That was worse than any DeYoung snafu ever.
Was it? I feel like DeYoung has had worse seasons than Gorman did.
If Gorman's strikeout rate had,
like, I guess Gorman didn't provide any defensive value either.
If it had been like a qualified number, it would have been the highest strikeout rate ever. It was worse than Joey Gallo.
I mean, in 2022, DeYoung had a 52 OPS plus. I don't think Gorman was at least like 80.
He wasn't 80, was he?
I don't know. He had a 530 OPS. He was batted 157.
I remember how bad
his strikeout rate was horrible. Like,
what year was this?
It was 22. But he's still a positive win player.
Yeah, because his defense is that good.
And then
Michael Siani at shortstop.
Nolan Gorman was a positive win player too this year. He had an 85 OPS plus.
Oh, well, maybe his defense is better than we thought.
No, it's not.
It's really not that good.
It's really not. I think it's just because he plays second base, and second base gets such a huge more advantage because there's not that many good second basemen.
That makes sense. But yeah, I wouldn't extend Gorman. I think this is pretty open and shut. Maybe if Gorman proves to you something else next year, like, you consider it again. But at that point, he's already ARB, and it's pretty late to have.
I think if Gorman has another bad year, he's non-tendered.
I don't know about that. No, I don't think the Cardinals will.
He's gone
easily. They could trade him. They're not going to non-tender him.
But he's not going to hit ARB with Cardinals.
Interesting. I don't know if I believe that.
Like, if he has another year that's as bad as the one he just had.
As bad as, sure, I think it's over. But if he's just like low tier next year, I don't know. I don't know. The Cardinals don't want to give up on a player like him because they see the writing is on the wall of like Nolan Gorman goes to San Diego and hits 35 homers.
For Mike Schill. That would
happen. It just makes too much sense.
That would happen. I do hope Goldie and Arenado end up on the same team and they win the World Series. That'd be really fun. I hope it's not Houston.
I hope it's not the Dodgers.
Right, because the Dodgers are going to move Max Muncy and trade Freddie Freeman next year, and they're gonna, and one of them's going to DH for them too. Yeah, they're not. That's not.
And then they'll win the World Series that way.
Yeah, so actually, Freddie Freeman's going to DH now, and they're going to move Shohei to the outfield, and he's going to be that third outfielder they were looking for.
All right, one more guy on this list, Lars Nootbaar. I think Lars Nootbaar makes a lot of sense, but I think there are question marks around him. Lars Nootbaar has all the tools in the world. He's a StatCast darling. The advanced metrics love him every year. And yet it's the same story. It's Lars Nootbaar can't stay healthy for whatever reason. They're weird injuries. It's not really his fault. But it holds him back. And then Lars Nootbaar, as we've talked about before, is a big time rhythm player. So if you look at Lars's numbers, right, he'll start the season slow and then he'll pick it up a couple weeks into the year. He'll find a groove. He's a great player once he gets into his groove. Probably a 5-win pace, 6-win pace type guy at that point. But then what happens is suffers an injury, hits the IL for a month. He comes back and he's terrible for the first 3 weeks. And he gets back into a groove and he starts to see his performance tick up again. And then a month later, he gets injured again. And it's like, great. Now he's out for 3 weeks. And it's just been terrible. And that's kind of been the story. It's this stop start trying to find a rhythm with Lars Nootbaar for the last 3 years. That's kind of my take. So I don't know. I think if the Cardinals extended him, I'd be happy because I'd say this is a guy that he's a fan favorite. He's a really good player. And if he puts it all together, yeah, he's a genuine star. The question is, will he put it all together and will he stay healthy? And that's the best reason not to extend him, in my opinion. But I'm not sure what I would do. I think I lean towards I would extend him if I could make it happen, but I think it's hard.
I think after he came back from that injury after July, he didn't really miss much time at all. And yeah. I think obviously had 2 really weird injuries this year. And I think he's aware of that now. And he's going to try to not have those injuries. And it's not he went to the doctors and
it's
stuff.
Just not his fault.
Yeah. He there was a story that he went to the doctors and stuff and was trying to make sure his bone mass wasn't horrible or something.
Yeah.
And they told him he was just normal. So it's not like he's going to be Tyler O'Neill and be like, you know what, we're going to the Trop, which we're not going to the Trop this year. But, I mean, he's not going to just slack off and be like, we're not going to play.
Yeah, that's true. That's not who he is.
He's not that kind of guy. So I don't question his effort there.
Never at any point in time.
And you look, when he came back, you're exactly right on how he is. Because when he came back from his injury in April, he had a 607 OPS. And then in May, he had a 845 OPS. And then he got hurt. But then when he came back in July, he had a 685. And then August had a 631. And then in September, October, had a 986 OPS.
Yeah. It's really great.
I mean, you just let him cook for long enough. And if you get a full season of Lars Nootbaar, I have no doubt he'll be an all-star. I just
absolutely.
I'll just tell you now, it's not going to be one of my 5 bold predictions because I've said it each of the last 2 years. Each of the last 2 years, he hasn't even played enough games in the first half to be an all-star. So,
yeah, if you get a full season of Lars Nootbaar, there's a chance that he could rack up 6.5 to 7 WAR. He's such a valuable player. He's such a great player.
I don't know. It's frustrating, and I can't see it happening again. Right? He can't just stub his toe for a week.
That's what Byron Buxton says every year.
Yeah, but he's not Byron Buxton. Byron Buxton is injury prone because he's, I don't know, I don't know. He's actually injury prone. So much so that the Twins, even though he was an elite center field defender, moved him to DH.
Yeah, it sucks.
So, we're not at that point with Lars Nootbaar yet. He can play more than 100 games in a season. I think, how many did he play this year? I don't know. I'm not on that page right He played 109, and he played 117 and 108. Like, if you get 150 games of Lars Nootbaar next year, I guarantee you he's going to be an all-star, and I guarantee you, like, you're going to wish you extended him. And I think that's coming. Like, I think he's going to have a couple of really good seasons because that's just the kind of player that he is. And, like, I don't know. It is frustrating. And if he gets hurt again in spring training, I'm going to eat my words. But I feel like right now, his value is probably the lowest it's ever going to be. And, like, this is the kind of guy you want on your team. Please don't put him in center field. There's some of these things that I hear coming out of the organization. I don't get it. But yeah, please don't put him in center field. Make him a left fielder. He can be one of the, like, left field's a weak position. Like, yeah, he can be one of the best left fielders in all baseball.
He's very good defensively. He can be a great right fielder too.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do with Walker. So
yeah. Hey, hopefully he brings Roki Sasaki to St. Louis. If he brings Roki Sasaki to St. Louis, they should retire number 21. And then they should trade Walker because Roki Sasaki loves Ben Zobrist and he really wants to wear that number.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway. Is Ben Zobrist a Hall of Famer? I saw someone put him on his ballot on Twitter.
No. Ben Zobrist will not make the Hall.
I hope not. Not.
You don't have to worry about it.
That would be bad. I wouldn't like that very much. But, yeah.
It won't happen. But, yeah, there's a couple other guys that make some sense to talk about, I guess, as extension candidates, maybe like a Ivan Herrera. But we just haven't seen enough out of him. I think I would extend Herrera, maybe.
It's too early.
It's so early, though. Like, Andre Palante is in that it's way too early conversation. You just don't know.
You would extend John King, though, to like 10 years. Yeah. $700 million deferred.
10 years, $1 million per year. No, wait, $1 billion per year. Love me some John King.
I was looking at 314 or like for like Topps cards of John King, and there's not a single Topps card with John King in a Cardinals uniform. The only one I could find was a Rangers card.
That's wild. Okay, because he's one of the best relievers in baseball right now, and he's a Cardinal.
They didn't even think he was good enough to put him in a set.
That's criminal. I honestly don't know why they would do that. It's very hurtful as a John King truther and glazer. But, I think that's all we've got for you guys today. As always, if you like the show, please leave a like, subscribe, tell your friends about it, comment down below. If you have any questions that you want to ask us, feel free to put them down there. We love to engage with our viewers. We love talking to you guys in the chat as well. So next time you're on, be active in there. You can find us on Twitter. You can find our stuff all over the place. But yeah, we have mailbag episodes coming up as well. So if you have anything there. And then also, the Birds on the Farm podcast, which is an affiliate cast of this, if you don't know about it, where we talk about the minor league system, what's going on. We have Kareem as an all-time guest on there, or as an all-time host on there. He's amazing. Go check that out. We're recording an episode of that this week, so that should be up soon as well. And if you have any questions for that, Kareem would love to answer your questions. So be sure to reach out to him, put it in the comments of previous videos. Just let us know. But yeah, anyways, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for listening.